or if we have to fly to another country to get a visa, all those kind of things are hampering. Now there's an added layer now. We have the added layer of COVID. Some of us would say it's an extortionist regime, if we are to be frank. Country and another 2 tests, and another test, thanks to commerce in discussion with ECHO. $50 that was going to be charged at Kotoka International Airport here. You know, we would still have a bigger headache than we already do with tests. A lot more, or even sign what FEWAKI and ECOWAS Commission were able to do of what private sector can do when they their heads together and say that we're going to ECOWAS Commission. And within weeks, months, the resolution was passed. And $150 that were being paid every ECOWAS citizen. We for citizens region, they're still paying $150. Is it the Pan-African AAU? What needs to be done? What is global private regimes as well to help some of the along with the to really check whether if you Hello, Nicole. Nice to see you. Thank you very much for a very interesting conversation. The other guests who are already well known to the yeah, so very quickly. So we have Dayo, maritime consultant, and then we have Dr. Kisembi as well. He's a teacher, and I don't have enough time to read his CV, but he's very learned. So much for joining the panel. This is a very important conversation that we need to have. Infrastructure, intra-African mobility, the moves and whatnot to be able to move across continents, across barriers, to study and to learn and come back, that kind of thing. So we'll be getting that perspective. Intra-African tourism in the context of APSS, in the context of REX, means. So yeah, good afternoon.
Can you hear me?
Yeah. Go ahead.
Welcome. Delighted to be here with you this afternoon, and I am very passionate about talent mobility because I think we have a lot of opportunity that are being missed to optimize it to drive economic and social growth. And I think there are a number of areas, but I think the first, for me, the starting point for effective mobility is to find out. I mean, we want to bring out better human resources in the sector. Where are the skills, first of all? before we start thinking about moving them. What skills do we have, and where are they? Because it's just as damaging, I think, for an economy to be growing too many skills in one area as for another country perhaps not to have as many. It will drive down wages, it'll discontent, which leads to bad customer service in tourism, etc. So that's the first thing. We need to find out where are skills. I spoke yesterday on another topic, and I mentioned that we need to look at the skills. People may be working in other parts of hospitality, in the meetings, incentives sector, for example, that can transfer to leisure, leisure tourism. What are the skills? Where are they? The second thing is enabling. I mean, obviously, infrastructure goes without saying. We need to have better infrastructure to get people moving around. Things like harmonized immigration policies, as you touched on very well there, Mr. Benza, about making sure that people can transfer easily and understand, more importantly, understand what the restrictions are. Where can they go? For how long? To apply for visas. For the tourism sector, people need to know how. The employers as much as the actual people moving. Tape still, there's so much to make. We need to clarify that as well as changing. As obvious. I work with a lot of international companies, for example, in the tourism sector and others, and I can testify that there is a lot of how can I say, a lot of is and where it's going in Africa in terms of that can cause for companies who are looking to themselves. And the challenges around for even an extra day can move people. Africa has an opportunity. I mean, your introduction today was brilliant because it makes use of the fact that we have so experience. Often just lumped as one Africa. As you say, there's this sort of international view, different experiences. But that means, how can we rebrand Pan-African talent mobility into something of an experience, not just for the tourists? So in other words, framing it, not because, oh, we have no work and we have to go and it's an opportunity to develop. The number one reason in mobility industry, assignments for a start, of course, everybody wants to develop. So to reframe a mobility experience actually can have a huge impact. And a lot of Pan-African experiences that we can drive, going, if somebody leaving massively different experience, but we're not really promoting that. I think a lot of it, perhaps, I'm not sure if it's because it's just a question of, I mean, I've lived in London. I take it for granted. It's on my door. Or it could be that to start branding, not just to the international own people. Finally, another point I would say is there is a lot of interest. As I said, I work a lot with global mobility teams. There's a lot of interest in using Pan-African mobility for large companies looking to invest in the tourism sector across Africa. There's a lot of interest of them across Africa. How do they move into, if they're bringing international talent, how do being driven? I mean, we may say that doesn't help us moving, but they're own people to transference to our own. Different and to gain different experiences. You've got mental group, all these other groups, campaigns. Are a few trends in the mobility sector that we can use to our and that is one of the drive other regions like Africa, because they want to do in countries. They want to be able to think that their work is that. How do they use craft their international, engage further with local communities, to be able to engage further for the places where they're moving to. If they've got senior people moving around, those skills transfer for our own people. Massive trend, which is the short-term assignment. It used to be that companies would move. That is no longer the case. Short-term is the way to go. So they need to be able to provide maybe 3 or 4 different assignments throughout. As I said, there's so much obscurity around, immigration, tax, etc. They don't have the experience of the region to enable them to do that. So again, you need, to be able to effect that. Our own for Africa, while they're transferring skills, we need to work with them so that while they're moving their for our own people. So it needs to be an integrated process, and it's been done in very successfully to be able to develop partnerships between tourism sectors specialists and mobility specialists working within those international companies. They've developed programs where they're transferring skills as well as providing experiences which grow the region and what it has to offer. And those people, so you've got a lot of community is getting, for us, that would be great. I mean, they gave back, which is good for us. As they're moving to other parts of the world, it does for our people is it helps ourselves to understand our own continent better. Cultural interaction that needs to take place. Everybody, I think, we don't appreciate, I think, the little nuances between the different countries in our own continent, and mobility can. It needs the right immigration policy. Understands it needs harmonized and has in one part of Africa is recognized. Tax treatments need to be given some attention as well, and of course the enabling infrastructure. I mean, I can literally talk all day about mobility. Like me to address, Mr. Benster?
As always, to say, and I skills, which include taxes, this whole conversation around ending it. I think you also talked about circular where we're beginning to understand, or the international community so-called is beginning to understand Africa a lot more. And once you spoke with Glovo, I'm sure some of you know the Glovo app. Allows you to deliver food to your house anytime and anywhere. And to learn the other in Barcelona around 20, and I spread all right from whether your food has arrived. I'm wondering what is someone food has arrived in Accra. I did a little. Okay, so this is Global app franchise. Cole's point about learn a little bit about now they are, you know, some of these global franchises are now beginning to understand ways to be able to sell it. That's just another a bit on the lighter side, but I think important points you made for that needs a lot of work. Thompson 2 days ago when he spoke talked about how there was zero budget for region is probably the biggest tourism region of Ghana, and you're wondering how come they're not investing there. Whether and speak to us on investment. Before we get to Dr. Kisem money, let's help us understand a little bit. But for you, Dio, I will confrontation. Basically, Nicole spoke to these issues of infrastructure and all the area of what would you say do economy in a way that where, you know, every blue economy as we need to see or was it June? Kenya opened up the Lamu port, the Africa to West Africa. It's supposed to go through Central Africa and South Sudan. A project which has been adopted by PD. Do you think that in the next 10 years, as with the merge Atlantic Ocean and what the blue see, or what we will see an explosive will bring out the is able to be.
I would like to answer the first. It's to people go on tourism for the experience, opportunity, basically because my family was in comfortable cities, and you're going to have a experience. If I mention Lagos, some people will remember traffic. If I fires of this morning, Mogadishu, Somalia, the night coming automatically. That we carry on with us. And they were consciously. So for us to break, we have to plant different. For example, where is the movie that is talking about after? Watch in a family where mother can understand the concept to achieve. How such that by the time he becomes a teenager, even if we build the infrastructure and we don't break this barrier down, nobody's going to sail from Nairobi or the to be. So that barrier, I repeat, start planting the right experience. Create people will start changing their perspective about what was. I want to check, is it true that development, despite the conflict, but what we see in our minds, what if we have a movie? Ghana is paved with gold. Wouldn't someone want to leave their shores and come and see? I have seen movies about the United States of America, and when I got there, it wasn't true because I saw slums. I never saw slums in their movies to do with black people, but I saw white guys begging on the streets. So exactly, we need to start creating those events like eating cuisine of your life that you cannot have anywhere else. Yeah. Okay, let me not go too far. Nigeria has 256 tribes, 2,000 plus languages, festivals that you can't count. Dark. And we need to put the right spotlight on ourselves and explain our narrative. I'll give you another instance. In the Philippines, there are incidents of kidnaps. Going there every day, despite all the stories and all this binge drinking festival of their lifetime. Like, it can never happen anywhere else unless you are on one of the Philippine highlands. You want to hop around highlands, go to the Philippines. No! And you won't be kidnapped. There for people to see, for people to hear. So that is my submission. If we want to have the MICE, meetings, incentives, conferences, and exhibitions, those are one of the things that Africa should tap into. If system, eventually something is going to bulge. And if we're the consistent one, the system will bulge. Because when alternatives are not sought, if we start traveling across the borders, we will understand that those barriers and borders are in our minds, and we will find. For now,
thank you very much, Dio. Thank you very much for that passionate submission. Rwanda, for example. Rwanda has built a sports stadium that now Africa a couple of months ago. For the I was like, why is VOA bothering to report? And it's a whole conversation. And so now happening in Africa, let's say not necessarily East Africa, because Rwanda now has the newest, biggest, dazzling sports stadium. A lot of things are going to go to Rwanda. Of football and so on that they're doing. So these are very important conversations that we need to have. But Dio, please, I'm not going to forget to come to it because it's very important. That restriction that it is now offering. What you begin to unpack it in a way that will allow more people to travel, because right now it's restrictive. Let's not joke about it. It's restrictive. It's just not allowing people to travel, to network, to do business, and the private sector really needs to happen on that.
Thank you very much. If we piece it all out and we open it up, okay, I'm sure between sustainable, what is your landing cost and the rest. If we understand where the bottleneck is, we will be able to untie the knot. Every business into you expect to get returns. If we can, by increasing price, you reduce volume. Those mechanisms would definitely play out such that in the long time. So if it is the government that is the bottleneck, we speak to the government and tell them, okay, so give them some time to recoup their time. You can start making your money. Let's make it in Nigeria. Investors make their money. And you government, you wait. When these guys have made their money for the first 3 a threshold of 5 million kits figure from the air. I'm not saying that is what it is. When you get to that point, okay, so now you have a larger margin. If that is what the problem is, I don't know if that is what it is, but I'm just using that as an example. Another conversation, then things are business people, and we can speak business to because you want to make profit. You have to understand what the levers are. It's easier for everybody.
tourism always spurs up money as well, because we need to have significant investment structure to make tourism an experience. Tourism isn't just the experience. How do you get an important experience to, or the agencies who have to invest in it have not done? Maybe you can help unpack for investment do we need to bring to the table important experience that it needs to be for.
Thank you so much, and thank you for giving you a statistic that 19 Africa was the destination in the world in the ACP. And there's a rise of what does this tells a lot that Africa, with lots of sites and experience into the now about 4 years ago we bungee jump do that 400 thing concrete but it was an experience, a thrill. As much as we are enhancing experiences, which just have to be naturally. Information and now look now just but rest the and for investment will add up. That is not to have a feel of around it. A case in point, you authority airlines board, because you can't leave out the security is very the state. Now, a bank where an investor, their money is for economic transformation of Africa. We face that you before African country, these are costs. The cost of offshore tourism should start from in Ghana, then depending sure whether they'll come or is boosted, that at least go toward a different destination and market. And if I know that for of a 5 joking. Right, come. I was like in knowing that's no good light. People are moving from Ethiopia, that these which connects to Oman, a pathway. These some 5-star hotel longer to understand even the investment decision on that. Thank you, sir.
So that all over the place on the been happening. Go to a war-torn country. Enforcing sanctions. Her draw taking pictures and she sent it to some. You experience in Mali. Those that are better. about, she really gets into the fiction that this, country, so these are as so you have, if COVID is not helping, we need for taking Director General of the National Development. I've watched many where you've talked, including when you what, so to speak, now that after from COVID AIDS, use that same lemonade to
Thank you very much. Was it the day before when it's been discussed here extensively. There are 4 related to economic so operator, it is a problem, but they had to use generation of economic infrastructure, not just and so forth. Also critical to manage tourism. Three-dimensional logistics and together. So the fiscal infrastructure, and then how you we have and then we built 6-lane highways through the communities, and then every 15 minutes at well. And then the 4th one is, they used to call that communication, but these days the name is of economic infrastructure. And as the first 3 are the hard ones, the hard core, the place, which is much easier on mass people and so active telecommunication industry. So that should be utilized. And with this, panelists here have talked about, and I could relate to everybody. I've been three, 4 months ago. I want to go perception. You realize but then if you rely on just BBC, and you'd never want to visit some of the problems you talked about. Visa. I made comments there. People saying, oh, dear. Then I started with each to South Sudan. Yeah. Understand he makes $22,000 in the world about Africa and so forth. I sit here, and it's the cheapest spend thing. I watched that, and also everywhere he's been. Issue of visas and experience. So we need standard in the hospitality industry. Money at the reception. Your needs, you put them there. Analyze or not to have an understanding of their tastes and the as the income thought about Nigeria or between Nigeria and Ghana. Also, they also Ivory. But the is the various African bloggers. It's only yesterday. You can go on YouTube and Google her. Days ago, and she told her experiences on YouTube. Because she goes to even the road leading to the so true. I could easily relate. The fiscal facilities is just one thing, but I think I visited there about 6 or 7 years. Place is here. But then what is government in Ghana now? Tourism levy. Somehow it's not reflected in Ghana. Levy for bill. There's a challenge, but then we carve challenge.
Thank you very much. I think our panelists have offered us very vivacious, coupled with what they also offered us a very where we need to be with intra-African tourism. The on tourism, but those are things. Visit the issue of intra-African. Also, I like the point that Dr. Kiseme made about starting country level, then graduate into the. I think it makes sense.
Yes.
So if private sector wants to invest, there are already so many who are sector. It's in the Ghana tourism that need to talk about it and what we seek to do with. We started around 2:20. 4 minutes left. I just want to find out whether if they have any comments. Lewis, please.
You get that, and probably for me that would, yeah. Investment in tourism, which many would call exists, but you can't. I'd like to see insurance these guarantees. The bank guarantees are really pretty. Business person asking me to deposit me a 70% of what I'm asking for. Makes sense to me. 18, money on the like to see the no matter what, should wake up and be active and more volatile, more investment. We are brokering as a company of the continent. DDIs, the foreign direct investment, versus the domestic up investments on the continent.
Just a small point that the African Investment Bank, given what is happening in Libya at the moment, I'm not sure whether the home of AAU member states to decide, unless what's happening there.
Hello?
Guy in green. In green, the youth then.
Has to do a tourism and the trading services. But it's going to be on off like the trading goods. Really strategy. One, the tourism content. Tourism. 2, a tourism which will. 1, look, when you go, it seems everybody have been programmed to know tourism. So be part. Is a set, but UK has 0 empty. The center didn't believe to this. I have no problem with that, but one country make tourism. Can you to how we can predicting, and you can come look at it.
Much. Thank you very much.
Thank you, sir. Thank you, sir. My name is. I had wanted to. And position the unique countries, so that the same that is the unique values that we have. In that position.
I'd want to say that even when you go on the ground, there are some things happening currently, sites, and there have been new developed sites. The tourism website, a place like they using a lot of the tourist sites, national. How is it that we are private not able to, which are actually not as part of the tourist sites in website? You don't see some of the our honorable Mr. These various of that. Some ways you've invested, and I'm going to ask more people. I'll do that. I was more attracted to are much better than the people to the mall industry in there. Secondly, this challenge to topics that we need to address. And we're seeing this highlight on your platform here to also tell our story. Some television stations are it because it really matter. But then again, like to go on trips like that, to be able to be behind this brands behind, you can partner with people like digitization age. We watch Scooby-Doo. Why aren't in the continent to tell our stories the way we want to tell them? Imagine going up against this and that and that and that. Or stories. When they came to shoot of various, it is our story. My point. Thank you very much.
To which no worries. Which incidentally Disney has what's the word, licensed, or I understand that. How is that we have to deal with? Tourism being packages, no, some packages about those, but forms like this sponsoring this to help with fund. Was the fact that no one understands that they need things. What our
First one, scientific. So much there. We mixed diaspora coming home for holiday, but from people for whatever reason in terms of statistics is very, very quick. Everyone, sometimes if you look at the number calculation, you realize that it's the same percentage. Some to that. So it's very critical. And this has made the expensive So if you go 6,000 jobs, it's there. They've established that scientific basis, and then they proceed to work on the basis of that. The communities of Accra, and ask the average Ghanaian to give you anybody will be able to tell you people maybe not directly from it. I know that there's been Caribbean is big with tourism, but the argument is that you don't see that reflected in combating poverty in the Caribbean. That's because most of the facilities, most of the investment abroad. And so apart from the locals who do the menial jobs, and most times for tourism in particular, they are given long time. And the actual impact as we strategize we need to support indigenous ownership as much as possible, so that when the monies come in, and the Sheratons and Hiltons and whatnot, taking the bulk of making tourism a relevant contribution.
Thank you very much.
Is let ourselves, the more we see a lot of lights and sound out there through branding. Dubai Expo and if it starts from within, in home with out there, less tourism. So for me, let us hold it, which has no challenge, but they
And to this very interesting conversation. My name is Ike Benson Jr., your moderator. The African personality. I want to also paraphrase what Kwame Nkrumah said. Seek the political kingdom. Digital kingdom. Thank you very much.
Panelists to come and do our. Thank you. A round of applause for them, please. Much, and if our two esteemed bombing.
Watch out.
See, all the gentlemen next to the ladies are smiling more. You know, I just noticed. Just saying. Oh no, you're gonna put a sad face on someone. Here we go. That's beautiful. Oh, he wants and he wants a paparazzi one. Okay. Wonderful. Great. No, there was an addition, right? Wonderful. Thank you so much. That was great. Would you stand for a minute as we invite the last panelists to come? This is going to be exciting. I can guarantee that. We have younger people coming to speak to us. So somebody was asking where are all the young people? So this is really we're going to be talking digitalization and ICT. And I know a majority of you don't want to be involved in being panelists there, right? So our host can come. Please come through. And please stand just to give yourself a break. You've been sitting a while. And then we will ask our next host.
Hello, everyone. So I ask if you can just humbly. Let's stretch out, stretch out, stretch out. There with everyone. Just stand. Don't move. Just get close to somebody behind with you. Pick something from somebody's palms. Try and then pick something from somebody's palms. And the person who is close to you, allow anyone to pick anything from your hand. Let's go. Quickly, try pick. Pick from somebody. If it will work. So supposed to develop tomorrow first thing in the morning. So before we begin, phone, it's also on the copy of this link in there. Visit the link and then do well to just pick one of the projects that you believe our session. Don't forget to also the bottom find that so at the end of the session highly voted or selected topics or areas chose will be the name or will be the task or activity for the groups tomorrow first in the morning. So let's move on. So this is the final and very insightful, informative. This final one is add Words of Life up here to also very good to have ICT, and I will have with us or their perspectives on ICT in helping us to implement my very first guest at MSME Network and also an entrepreneur, CEO of Fierce Wind Electrical. Please can do it better, you know. Okay. So joining us here is also, you know, this man did something. Kashinko Ni Ajay, co-founder Solar Taxi and MD Kumasi Hive. Put your hands. Thank you. Thank you. A student of the Kwame Nkrumah University of Science and Technology, and she's studying telecom. Ajaman. Chief Finance and Strategic Officer, Vobis Solutions. As he makes his way to join us up here. And our final guest is from the All Africa Students Union, and the person Veronica Giagu. Put your hands together, Veronica. Before she takes a seat. Thank you so much. Finally, you're here. The fourth industrial revolution is characterized by biological and physical worlds, as well as such as artificial intelligence, and the Internet of Things, and advanced. These have ushered a new era in socio-economic. Big question is, Africa has already first, second, and third industrial revolutions. Fourth as well. Guess is as good as mine, but we will have to take it up there for them to tell. Let's start with you, Veronica. Education now in Africa. And also, how well some quality to our education, since you would ask.
All right, thank you very much for the question. We all know ranging from infrastructure, the quality in the education with the onset, we realize most African countries try to the digital platform structure. A lot of and so you know, make it more inclusive, make education more inclusive.
Yeah.
During the pandemic, we still missed out because and even where it was available, connectivity issues and
yes.
challenges, most students were unable to take take up the opportunity to continue learning, to make service delivery to, or we've been unable to, what it takes currently.
Good that we out of existing technologies to help on solutions. To Teresa. Teresa, you're an entrepreneur, right? So private sector person. Huge gap. Technologies that can help in what's challenge.
All right, thank you. So what I think about the whole thing is people who are out there doing, they do not know about this opportunity. Most of them lack the can help them push their business out there.
Okay.
They don't have that information. You would even a woman in her 40s that apart from making a phone to send a message to somebody, it is all about. So they lack all of these information. So out there, because there are so many opportunities on social media. Last, I was running my business Facebook, Instagram. So all that I have to do is to Facebook, Instagram, and then I put my goods out. We just the person. It doesn't matter where you are. There are so many can in the sun and suffer and throughout anything profitable. Most of these people about this, I think it would help.
Let's now go quickly to Foster. So Foster, in your how do you do it? You first of all contact them, run a market survey, consultancy service, help, and the players in there. How have you done that?
Before coming to the, we know each country, but the problem has been knowing when, that's why we have foreign portion of what we've been doing is in 2 years, we've been trying ease. So if it's about run, if you raise your billing, your customer, so that if you go to her, what happened? workflow to now have data demand and even begin to they will need to be able to sustain passion. It's also easy for them to now know, does it influence my expansion? Where should I site the next branch? Counted is because of the leverages. So what we try to do is we have marketing students, IT people, they create an ecosystem around these entrepreneurs. The only thing to do is content for you to go on. Engaging is it to act for the entrepreneur. A bit about is about I mentioned infrastructure 2 days ago. It of the economy, there's the issue about that is what will be able to sustain the fourth industrial revolution. My colleague mentioned about during the pandemic, the quality is bad. Why? It's because the infrastructure. What demand to make 1,000 kilometers of area fiber, aggregating demand from various to go to area because it wouldn't make economic sense. And the ICT penetration is about market. How do you leverage so the ecosystem and make the customer keep coming?
That you are into telecommunication engineering. Well, have you been able or have you been well to ensure that digitization, see from your point of view, can you eradicate poverty and create more opportunities for you?
Okay. Okay, so what I would say first of all is that telecommunication engineering is actually in different aspects. Okay, so we've heard of artificial intelligence, I'm sure. Telecommunication engineering, though it's really building up and really gaining a lot of attention from a lot of people. Radio frequency aspects, where we have the antennas and all. Because you see, even though artificial intelligence is very important, without the radio aspect to actually propagate your waves, you can't even get the internet that you need to actually program and then make your robot. So then that means, even though the aspect and they all come together to actually get what we have as poverty aspect in Ghana, it has to do in a day. And so how you're going to get that work? Because if you think about digitalization, to be digitalized enough in their minds before they can actually do something for someone who needs that. Ghanaians or Africans skillful in terms of digital soft skills. For instance, there was at home What we used to artisans who carpenters, electricians, and all those things at a point in school, and then we were and then bring it up and all. An app for such artisans. Go into database management. So if you have those skills, you can manage the database of the app. When you also manual skills, can also knowing how to use an app. The money pulled in. If that happens, that it will actually increase the income of the country and to go a long way to help.
As a panelist, you can just put your answer, but let me just go to Morris. Morris, solar taxi. So we've been following your work. Majority are women. So you've done something very special purpose for women. Also leverage on digitization and ICT to create skills, reinventing labor skills.
Thank you very much for that question. I must say that, or historically, we've always known that in the African context, women are encouraged to take due to either their physique, individuals, and with the feminism movement and all of those, we can equally do so. I have the view that whether man or woman, because of your genetic different and unique, it's the person. Men were the ones who were gymnasts, bodybuilders as well, who are women. So we don't want to have that disparity in the sense that because I'm A, B, C, and D. So to your question, in Africa, you digital or
Sure.
it's more online labor work of a sort, and a lot of women have interest in tech skills. If you take our educational system or what she's doing, telecommunications, most often all that you study is theory and probably science. So there are rooms in the country that are set up to produce or give skills that is necessary in the fourth and something do not, you said this to young people, do not chase. Let me bring it. If your father is doing carpentry and you go close, they say no, don't go close. If your father's an electrician, he a doctor.
They say do better.
Exactly. Be a doctor, be a lawyer. The serial entrepreneurs on the continent right now are people who are doing catering. These are things that were frowned upon some years ago, right? So the question is, right now, skills that are not necessarily in the curriculums, that are attractive to people who may not necessarily have the opportunity to go to the university create jobs around them, and make sure they are equally employing people. About 3 of us, and then the technical team who they just had an idea and we started it. We got funding from MasterCard Foundation to got another $200,000 to be able to center for women who are interested in becoming engineers, because electric vehicles, it could be easily, you can easily learn it. We did the same for the women. So we run the program called Training Women in Mechanical Engineering or Electrical Engineering, and then all engineers. The fact of the matter is they had do electrical engineering. Their parents told them no, but they have the passion for it. But the fact that, as I talk, to go and further her education in electrical engineering, labor is there. It's just about interest from the young people to go there, because the universities do not have curriculums to be able to absorb people who are interested in certain kinds of skills in the 4th industrial revolution. But then there are spaces like that. So let's create that. Thank you.
Deliberations, yes. Foster.
How leveraging digitalization could reduce unemployment as a national security issue. And majority of the people who are unemployed, but just of the semi-educated, the with competition. These two and competitiveness. So carpenters around East Legon, seller in Tama. So this is comparable to what is in Okadeco. He sells it for 2,500 Ghana cedis. Okadeco sells it 7. It's because he's only passerby know use digitalization to help this. It's not skill. So we have the computer science students, we have the person saying create content and use for you to meet the kind of the to get similar furniture. We need to see how do we get semi-literate, illiterate electricals use the unemployed graduates in a very then support this base. Ask them because they will not have formalized their contractors to the big or the multinational who will eventually go. Digitalization, if the private sector who always Excel is a tool, we will need to know artisans that come to mend their plumbing works at home to market and start. As a skill set problem, we need to. There is the low-hanging one that can help. Two, we now get to the educational institution and the scope of what they teach.
Let's go to Teresa. I have lots of people luminous, and they are really controlling the economy, you may say. But how then? I mean, they are not so. Now, we, this generation, are the ones things. How can we bridge this?
That aspect, I believe, yes, there's not necessarily my learned colleague said, sorry, like my have a middle person who would or the buyer and to promote their businesses, their products, and then package it nice. Show interest in such products. So yes, I believe that's the best. Employed graduates. The finance minister came out with a statement. He mentioned that they are entrepreneurship. So with what he said there, so studied all this mandate. People who can market, put it out there.
Yes, Morris.
Okay. Exactly. Let her talk.
Ladies first. Ladies first.
Actually, I want to talk on a number of things. Okay, so first of all, I'm going. Let's just move. Adadi Foster, yes, thank you. Mentioned something. Lady Veronica also said. I was supposed to have our mid-sem, but I had to go home. So exam cancelled, a bit of joy for students anyway. But then the studies were not very serious as compared to being in the classroom setting. And it would have actually flowed freely. And then they mentioned the internet and then they out that you see when the people at the lower level have the access of to phones like Android phones and can't actually use them well. Us because I say this because they don't create a company like Vodafone or MTN. No place where one person makes a call a day. It won't produce any money. So when that happens, you'll be trapped and you can't hear the person on. So if you're in when you get there to the lecture, but when you're in the comfort of your room, but the person all have to try and help each other. at least in a comfortable internet connection. You don't have internet.
Schools have been selective, eh? Of
It's actually a business to actually encourage the if and when they build those sites at every prominent place, it will go a very long way.
great.
And
So about when you take at least solving the having yam and the buyer in Accra price. So what did they do? So Uber says in your palm. You don't need to know how I do better. Because that may do is to say why the and create the so linking back to what Kumasi Highway may have farmers whose oranges maybe are getting rotten in the farm. Meanwhile, you are so if the guys go there, sees the buyer, so it's so you can set as many suppliers to choose what you want to buy. He's a billionaire to know where to get supply at a good price. So coming back, I think the unemployment problem the people who give us our daily food, the one who fixes your washroom, the one who he will not be at home. The telco, our pensions will improve. So there'll be more money to solve housing problems. So it is an important place for the people we considered the incapable who have to learn that as a second option. And with the people who claim we have the brain, we are in the air condition, only talking services. So the solution lies in identifying the problem and how either you can today create a web app creation, you have the experts here. They are even plug and play, do it yourself kind of apps. But you need an entrepreneur who sees that, okay, this app minutes to queue and to buy a watch. They are solving. So the opportunities exist, so are the no one person can solve all Africa's problems. For the when we saw the money, it will take care of the original level policy is also important. The availability of in the government a tender going to digital. What that means is that there will be internet there.
Sure.
Everywhere. So government is important, but where is our little making the impact at?
Yeah. I would like Maurice to just hold up a bit. Let me just go to Veronica. So if we have unemployment, actually, the mother, the project you've run or you're about to run, to the mill of digitization, so they can also enable solutions on their own.
Currently, all to the fact that the future is digital. We know of today are going to phase out within the next 10 years as to where we are heading. And that is now the issue. Preparing opportunities presented by the that is very high on our program. We have a non-state to see how we can offer in digital skills for students, because we realize that most of the students, and it's been mentioned, data science or something related to that, yourself in the digital and so we believe that we need of students who pass through the various institutions across the continent so that they are prepared for what are we going to do about the students. Most of the things they are learning today the issues are going to become even more complicated because young people are not finding work to do. So if still not prepared to take up what's then it's going to be very terrible for Africa. We can always learn. It's not something we need to reinvent. We know about India's heavily in ICT. So we know when it comes to ICT, India exports services, they stay in India. You know, also we could look at some of these models, our context. That's costs of you know, acquiring the for if you are an entrepreneur and you want to use the internet for business, even the costs, you know, discourages a lot of young people. It came in. Entrepreneurs were forced to move online because if you didn't do that, you're going to miss out on business. But if you look at what's the income, you know, as compared to what you For a lot of people, it's not commensurate, and so the platforms.
Sure.
And so, like has already been mentioned, that enabling environment also has those things so that they can take advantage of such opportunities to leverage what they are looking for. Opportunities, both how we can partner to push some of these young people and what they are doing as far as digitization.
Great. So we just join us. We took. We can link this great idea of ICT and how we can use this to transform on this and have young people get okay. So if Doc comes in, we'll just have to straight back.
Thank you. I want to say this briefly, though. I wish next time come probably the first. At this point, funds are dropped. Be the young environment program. So I'd want to say that in subsequent, when the big guys are here, put the young going to do things. We will need the up. That's one. Bits and pieces, because I don't know if I'll get the opportunity to talk again. Something about us young people that I think we're missing. The fact that, and I'm still going to hammer on interest. I'm not necessarily interested in entrepreneurship as it stands now, because and the young people of today do not want to work. A culture of affluence, a culture of self-gratification. Person is willing, or some young people, most young people I know, to build a business. Nobody builds a $1 million business in 3 days. Mentorship. It takes a lot of legwork, like Mr. Foster said, going on the field. That's where the money comes from. I run a tech hub in Kumasi, and I can tell you, over the last 6 years, we've trained about 10,000 young people. The businesses we've accelerated, becoming interested in, they create ideas. I have so many one behind it, do that funding, and they spend the funding on things that really do not matter. Need extra gas to want to build a business anymore. So opportunity to make billionaires and stuff like that, because you make money by solving problems. We do not have the, and I don't necessarily blame the young people, because 2 days ago we were having a conversation at my table, and I think Mr. Henry said this, that an all entrepreneurship work from home policy. So people became entrepreneurs immediately. This was after the past, after the Second World War. They research into that, it was true. We have in it. So young people are not thinking on fundamentally from home. You are trained to go through. You don't become an entrepreneur overnight just because you say become an entrepreneur. It won't work. You need training. produces thoughts. Thoughts produces feelings. So if the words don't keep coming, there's no. My point to us is that just as an entrepreneur, you still have other communicating that grit to them. Do we celebrate our own entrepreneurs locally? Entrepreneurs, they lie. Someone tells you, I started a restaurant with one. Do you get what I'm trying to say? How corporate body professionals. One of the things that entrepreneurship, young people and entrepreneurs lack in our. So you have people who are building business and there's nobody helping them. Yesterday, I think I want to build a business. I go to the bank and they ask me what. Ask that question because the mentor would have told him, make sure it's bankable. That is how it works. So that's from, like Traore said, from the mind become businessmen and become millionaires just on our say so. What are the things that we need to put in place? We talk about infrastructure a lot, but I can also say Ghana has some level of infrastructure. It is more in Accra than in Kumasi, because in Kumasi they are, so they don't classify themselves as unemployed. In Accra, you have university students who have graduated employed. That is why the numbers are. Meanwhile, in Accra, you have internet service, you have hotspots here, you have entrepreneur services, but the young people are not going to.
Are you saying that if somebody that's because there is enough change you from that position from unemployed?
Infrastructure. Let me not use the word enough so that you can take advantage of. So many online platforms that you can learn digital. I learned how to do data analytics. 15,000 euros on EDX, on Coursera. When I get enough money, I'm able to go to do it extensively. So for instance, if you're in a hotspot, maybe in a city on the continent, I think, because there's no the private sector, but the sector to become more powerful than the government sector. It won't work. So for us young people, there and take what we.
So, Dr. Ibrahim, if you can hear it. Matter.
About my occupation. Thank you so much at first for the organizers. About digitalization, it's not only a very small thing. Digitalization is the focus of all pragmatic ones. Applications, digital services are available where the countries we can transformation every our things? How can we solve the governmental very important, and this part will be developed without and we should work on the important. How can we into our students this mindset? My school, I organize every year oriented in this kind of application and services in relation with another industrial parts, and they come, they ask students, they have a problems, and they ask students to develop a solution for some things. And the last very important competition, administrative. They comes and they collect a lot of administration, and they try the problems and between persons who and with the developers, with developers, and at the end we try to give a solution to this administration. This can be a very countries can work in this problem. So English language, and I feel that
we are glad you really pointed to the fact that how do we connect the students to also be nurtured in this digital world. We have young people who are creating these applications, but we grow Instagram, we embarrassing, but audience comments.
Thank you. I've got this to say. Put it
Please
that
go
way.
ahead. Yeah, go ahead.
Yeah. I think the problem young graduates Ghana and some parts of the bow downs to ego. And it's not a hearsay, something by a shop owner to cash off a market and pay the person well. 1,500 Ghana cedis or community too big to work at that environment. But the government sector, and it's prepared to do that one. So I think again, improve upon what business.
Okay.
What's here most important? This mentality of I'm working for. Instead of working with to develop that sector, they always go and working for. So you go in for your money. Once you take your money, forget it. So it's moving forward. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Platforms to develop businesses, and that is a role to play. Let me pick you, yes, sir.
So a software that we are putting in large software for them. I mean, so we put it out to make it very affordable for them. People are not able to use step theory from these businesses and entering it on the employment when there is this. I mean, we are deploying it for market sellers, all these people, and these people have monies. Not man the software because they are not can take it upon yourself to do this for to that the literacy to apps and all. We are just into the use it. It's actually running a customer oriented service pipeline, and that is what's making the money. So I'm saying digitalization, in as much as the infrastructure that are also going to use this. Thank you.
Wait, so I know Lizzie had who's on Zoom. Joy, if you can hear me.
Yes, hello, thank you.
Yeah,
And for creating my videos. I was really I'm calling here from Germany, and my concern is a little bit. I'm the founder of Africa Women in Trade. So at the moment, I'm dealing with over 4,000 micro SMEs on the ground. And the technology, I have to tell you, we are struggling with that. So however much we want to go to digitalization, we really need to think, which do we need to compete with the world, or do we need to develop new ways of doing digitalization that works for Africa? Why I'm saying this, I'm from Kenya anyway, and when I went to Kenya, I remember trying to do money payment with M-Pesa. For me, it was really like a very interesting app that even I had to ask, any old woman could use that for payment, and they're doing it for business. And why don't we develop such kind of tools that are working for our own people on the ground, our business women, and the people who can use it? As one of the speakers there, the young ladies mentioned there, that we need to find solutions that they can use the mobile phone for just not only for the phone call, but some countries have advanced like Kenya. So how can we develop software that are solutions for our people on the ground, not competing with the world? Because the tools that are out here, our people are not able. For example, some of the events that are happening right now during COVID, you have them so advanced and they're allowing women to do expo, but they cannot even have the internet to join. They're very powerful tools, platforms. They cannot join and listen in. So the only functioning thing is YouTube or Facebook. We need to develop solutions for the continent, not competing with the world at the moment. That's my views to share here
That's
today.
remarkable,
Thank you.
Joy. Thank you so much for helping us to get this new aspect. That's digital platforms that is for Africa. But let's get back to you, Morris.
Yes, opportunities are here, and the young people are not very unique circumstances in education, leave alone digital. We have areas. The last 5, 6, even before advantage of the early young people. That
The young man.
One, I aspire to go far.
Good.
A beautiful office. And proper, like they say go to school. School, time you can't even. We have seen those who didn't go to school. Those who are, they are now holding their document looking for job. Society and we all serious problem now.
Transformation Master, yes.
Could it be my
Your microphone to the next one.
Can you hear me? We need to understand that when I was in government, an unemployment graduate even require government assistance to succeed on themselves. Environment to make it possible to expand and employ other people. The idea makes sense. Globally, on average, about 80% of the everyone should go out there and make sense. That's one. To go into entrepreneurship, we need issues of rent. For instance, the rental regime in Ghana is very if you want to rent a shop. The difference in Ghana, to go and start a business to your landlord. In the US, you pay the first month's rent, deposit, in case you're living in your broken windows. So you have a lot more. You get a nice place, you want to start a business. It takes you forever to get electricity. You have to bribe, do all sorts of things. We have high interest rates. It's now around 20%. In China, it's as low as 4.5%. When we have the entrepreneurs, they're very difficult for the typical Ghanaian because of what? Policy failure. Not necessarily directly creating jobs, but creating the right environment. The lady, the the entrepreneur right. Ghana before. So you have things and that in the funnel for political benefit. The brother, for instance, talked from MasterCard Foundation. To Ghanaian circumstances alone, you probably couldn't have come. Look at that. Look at Amazon, for instance. Today is the largest. They made losses for 11 consecutive years. 11 money. But they had a vision. And they have venture $1 million or two. Go ahead and use that for advertising and setup. And more complex than simply saying that you have, because government has failed.
Okay, thank you so much, Nimoy. Let's hear from Mr. King.
Opportunity, young, because you give me a whole lot of energy. I don't want you to think problems and sometimes PS. So let's come back. Implementations. I do. I always give me 3, maybe are some of the the what can we do within the public sector? Survive, start out and actually really thrive. What can a collaboration young people and the diaspora maybe up to 5 ways that we solutions are there. We need to fish them out and we need to work on that. We can talk with her and then see that we can bring to Africa in a very. There are many opportunities there, and all actually have solutions to. Going problem solutions are and I free trade area diaspora.
So
I'd like you to say this.
So participants here. Reception. So yeah, so please reach out.
Thank you so much. And taking views, but because it's young people, online platform. People like you, how we can make it into success story. If the next age is youth, so your excuses are going to get less, just more your innovative ideas that are going to really place you into the epicenter of where this is. The those aged between 18 and 35 are more than those aged between 36 and above. What does that tell you? It tells you that together you as majority and okay, why are you not getting into centers of power and influence by networking as young? That will represent you in the highest offices in a nation. Because if you want your ideas bought, so I would say young, so that you are a government as cabinet ministers. In Rwanda, one of the youngest, our youngest minister is 28. Our youngest parliamentarian, the youngest party, the EFF, is really made up of young people. So we say there's those on the other side begin to really do things that matter within society.
Joy made a point about we trying to have digitalized systems tailored to the African. We feel like we're chasing somebody or trying to copy somebody or competing with somebody. You have to understand you want to rent. So how then are we able to tailor our technology to our own problems in our continent? So, Veronica, from you, education. And our technology, that we wouldn't feel overburdened.
It all boils down to the content of people to develop content that reflects Africa. We don't have enough of that happening. And so, as Dr. Ken said, if you are going to, then we have the opportunity to provide more training. These days, we hear training in coding and other things. If that could be scaled or expanded to reach more young people, I think that will help to address the issue of developing a digital system that meets or responds to our context as Africans. The issue of coaching and mentoring has also been mentioned. They need to be guided to that will respond. So we also need that to happen.
Sure. Let's pick final words from you with regards to what can the diaspora also do to support us, help strengthen digitalization in our continent. So brief remarks on that, and then we can just bring it to an end. Foster.
Okay, thank you. So the fourth beginning says it touches on the digital, the biological, and the physical world.
Yeah.
Africa's real economy concerning this is still very young or less developed. So combining that with Joy's input of having a customized solution for Africa, majority of our operations are still offline. So the developers must start looking for how do I have an offline and an online solutions. So for example, the developer would develop an application for market women. They may not be online, but you could have an application that goes to pick data offline and then bring back online to analyze and send the information back to them.
Okay.
So we have a scenario where, for example, there's a solution you combine, and we also need to irrigate because the farmers are having irrational rainy patterns. Normal phone, he only needs to dial numbers and he's able to irrigate his farm in the morning. He doesn't need to go to put on irrigation. He's able to stop it when, because there are sensors on the ground that knows that the moisture level is fine. So we could still be able to use the feature phones, we could still be able to use the same elementary implement to solve our present problems. And while waiting, the second point of leverage on diaspora. So sometimes knowledge gives us the power. So today we've listened to Joy, entrepreneur. So the entrepreneurs will say, how can I look for Joy? And say, you have 4,000 applications, also you are supporting. Platforms such as this, that makes it possible to know what is happening on the other side and having a convergence side of somebody up there that can provide the full kind of. That will be one way to go. So it will be good to now begin to network to know what is the diaspora doing and how does it fit into what we here are doing so that the two, we can have that synergetic effect to solve the problems.
Great. Network platforms between your remarks.
Okay, so first of all, I want to say that if there are a lot of opportunity to make money,
Great.
opportunity, let me put it that way. But then there's one reason with our curriculum or our style of study so that you get first class.
Yes.
So that you leave school having a big doesn't correlate with the skills in your head. So if that is the reason, then you get into the job field and you're not appreciated because you came there with an A on your sheet, but what is in your mind is not reflecting what is on the sheet. So I'll encourage that the education sector should actually look at what is going on in the schools. Why are the people who are coming out not having skills that meanwhile they are being taught? So because one lecturer of mine, what he wants is for you to understand the theory and apply it. His own is not what is and list. But that's what some people do. They want you to cram and bring verbatim what you saw in the slides. But that is not what is supposed to happen. I'm supposed to understand what you taught and apply it, especially in an African setting. Know how to apply it. So that I'll encourage the youth. I'll encourage the youth that let's not just cram. Even if you want to cram to get a number, at least understand it. Then you can cram the person's vocabulary for him. Then you use the understanding and then do what you have to do to in the background. Yes, and we also learn programming in school. So aside programming and learning and cramming to get an A, you practice on your own in your closet. Then you can also do things. You can also now be innovative. So innovation is very important because once we are saying there are a lot of problems in Africa, then that means there's a lot of money to be made.
Yes.
When the problem ceases, the money ceases.
African graduate, listen to Esther. Listen to her. Morris, yes.
Yeah, thank you very much for this opportunity. I want to say a big thank you to all the panelists. I've heard so much, I've learned so much. There are a few things I would love to touch on, but because of time, I wouldn't do that.
Sorry about that.
Just to touch on what Mr. I can't remember your name, though.
Dr. Sam?
Professor Sam, yeah, mentioned concerning leadership in Africa for young people. I can say that a lot of young people want to be in leadership positions. I can speak for Ghana, but then you realize that even fundamentally as young people, our mindset is not right for leadership. That is the reason why we can't get into leadership. The people with the right mindset don't have the backing they need. Those with the wrong mindset are the ones who get the backing. You go to universities and look at how they do SRC nominations and elections, and you would weep if you want to see Africa go somewhere tomorrow. People would come with yogurts and money, and they will buy votes. And you are wondering, these are university students who are to be thinking for tomorrow, but they will vote for someone on campus because the person gave them money. So that same person then grows to become a politician, who is not going to go into government and make decisions for us. So it's upon the elderly people who are supposed to help us in parliament in Ghana as well. We have a 27-year-old in parliament. If you ask me what she's doing for advocacy for any young person, I work in young people. I work with a lot of young people. We've reached out to them for them to come around. We don't get them. It's all about what is coming to me and what can I amass for myself. So the best way to do this is by sometimes having platforms like this and talking, or creating our own, forums and fora and sharing our own thoughts and stuff. But that is the long haul. It takes a long time to get there. So just like we're talking about the implementation, like our elderly mom said, the fact of the matter is we can't do it alone as young people.
Okay.
Someone needs to hold your hand and bring you. Jump into the world and come up with me. You at the top may have to bring me.
Yeah.
But as young people, we also have to sell our vision to you people for you to understand that we really can do this.
Yeah.
Illumination of the melanin. How do you encourage young people to think and themselves that yes, our leaders may be failing us, but we should leaders right now, as I tell you. So I'm grateful to God that you run because right now in our universities, nothing of the sort. Because if you look at our elections alone, there's a problem. Finally, on the digitization, I'd say that it's progressive. Like Joy said, ourselves apart from the world.
Yeah.
Most of the way we transact business is offline. It's very difficult for you to absorb people online, but that's also an opportunity, like they've all been mentioning, for others. There's a product somewhere that needs to go to someone. The person able to do that.
Yes.
I even think for us as entrepreneurs, if the young people who are show them a business model for our business to be able to train them to then go and get the people to come in.
Sure.
That's what I'll say.
For more support digitally.
Okay, so I would say nice seminars for small and medium businesses to come together to learn things like this, because this particular topic is a broad thing. Yeah. There are so many things on the internet. You will be amazed, so many opportunities that people do not see every day. So I believe that training, more training, open up the platform, bring on people, young people, teach them, bring on seasoned or experienced people to come and teach them all these things so that we will see improvement and the issue of unemployment.
Ladies and gentlemen, put your hands together for my panelists as we discuss. We can rise and take our photograph down here. We have to rush outside for the DSA. We can't take the photos down. So let's go.
All right. Thank you so much to young people who did so. You are needed outside. Just run. Um,
Watch out
really
for the
wasn't
second
it?
edition